Hello, MGTOW. Hello, man. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about how to say no to tyrants and women, and why it's important, the prices you have to pay, and the benefits that you will gain. Okay, so we've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. But first, let me tell you, given the situation here at YouTube regarding ad revenue and the restriction of videos, my hand is being forced. I have to talk about certain things in a certain way. I really can't sugarcoat it anymore because don't know how much longer, we have here. So keep that in mind and understand that some of the things I might say, you might not agree with them, right? So there you go. There's a trigger warning for you. So how to say no to tyrants and women? Because when I say the word tyrant, you probably think of a strong-arm military man who's ruling over a situation, who's imposing his will independent of the welfare of anybody, and even over his own word and agreements, so that there's no way to sustainably, build a future with this type of an individual. They're just going to use their whims and their desires to determine, what the truth is and what reality is. And interacting with them is going to be, they're going to harm you. You're either going to go along with them or they're going to destroy you. That's all. And even if you go along with them, they're liable to destroy you because they're insane. They're driven by their whims. They're driven by their desires. They are not in control of anything. They don't even have any sort of goals or plans. They have no self-awareness. They just have desire and instinct, it can be very dangerous, right? As history has demonstrated. But there's other types of tyranny, isn't there? There's emotional tyranny, isn't there? As a matter of fact, you're more likely to encounter indirect emotional tyranny than you are to encounter, a direct physical attempt to, control you. So how do you say no to the tyrant? Because if you do, the tyrant would not be able to be a tyrant unless they were in a position to make others comply. And there's all types of tyranny. There's tyranny of emotions. There's tyranny of pity and compassion. In other words, you can be controlled through your pity and your compassion by someone who does not have those virtues. How about the tyranny of equality, right? We're all equal. Well, how does that square with somebody who works harder than anybody else and who does more work and does better? Should they not earn more? Well, if we're all equal, and what about the extraordinary individuals that can accomplish great things and can get so much done? Which reminds me, go check out a John the Other video that he just put out. I'll point to it in the description below because he talks about just a whole bunch of important things relating to the male condition. And he just covers them one after another and he just ties them all together. And it just offers great insight, to what's going on in the world with men and the situation, why it's so frustrating. It helps men understand the situation so that it's not so frustrating and they can kind of see some of the problems coming their way. So by all means, check out the video. I'll point to it in the description below. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up and go ahead and, give a thumbs up to all MGTOW videos and MGTOW related videos because YouTube is coming down on us really bad. It's shutting us down. It really is. So there is a tendency within an individual's nature to give in to, their ideas and then to justify their actions. So the first step in saying no to tyranny is to recognize it and to recognize the potential for it. Somebody can control you by threatening to cry. Now, what if somebody is trying to make you keep your word and, they're saying, they're using guilt. You could call it guilt, right? To make you keep your word. Is that tyranny? Is that tyranny of virtue? No, that's not. This is a complex issue. These are the virtues and the values that you need to be sustainable, right? And the world is going to try to burn them away. The ones that, that aren't useful to you. They're going to become burdens to you. So you have to recognize the tyranny and you have to recognize your tendency within your own nature to capitulate to it. For example, the way men have to act in order to not offend the women folk okay? The way a man has to behave, the way a man has to carry himself, the way he has to be thoughtful and considerate of all sides of the issue, okay? Now there, is a tyranny of choices. In other words, you want to cross the river, you glance at the river, you pick out the best place to cross, and you go to cross. But before you do, somebody comes up to you and says, we're going to need to do an exhaustive analysis of all of the currents, and it's going to take months in order to pick the best place to cross. And you're going to be able to look at them and say, look, no matter what data you gather, by the time we're ready to cross, the river will have changed. So we can see the best place to cross. Let's cross. And they would say no. And you would spend, and you know how long you could spend waiting to cross that river to get to the other side? I think you could spend your whole life waiting on that side of the river. So a tyranny of indecision. Are you sure it's the right thing to do? Now, I'm not saying that, we're not examining the possibilities and the options. No, I'm saying that women are intentionally hamstringing the men with doubt, a tyranny of doubt. You are the man. You have the penis, to borrow a line. Believe in it. You have it for a reason. She's not a man. But here's the thing. How do you say no to the tyrant? Okay? And if you don't do what she wants, she's going to cry. She's going to withhold sex. She's going to tell lies about you. She's going to get you fired. Tyranny of women. And there'll be no compassion for you. And the fact that it's not true, that she's lying, it won't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is her feelings. That's what will be reinforced. And your suffering will be like just a sacrifice on the altar of the glory of women. More tyranny. Recognize the tyranny. Recognize an individual's tendency to capitulate to it, to say, holy shit, I don't want to pay this price. I'll go along. Fair enough, right? Say a single mother is looking at her young son and saying, I don't want you to go play baseball. I don't want you to take physical chances. I don't want you to hang out with those boys. I want you to stay at home and to be a very meek little boy. And if you don't do that, she's not going to give affection. You know what I mean? She's not going to give food. She's not going to give approval. So the only way for that young man to win that approval is to act like a little girl, to betray his own nature, to go along, to get along with someone, with a society, with a system that just wants to exploit him, that does not care about his future well-being. And if he doesn't go along, they're going to punish him. Okay, so you understand the situation. And he wants to go along. And in some cases, right, where he needs to keep his word, he should go along. Recognize the tyranny, recognize the tendency to want to go along with it, how to say no to it. If you directly say no to the tyranny, the tyrant, the person who has this threat over you, will enact that threat. You lose. You don't want to do that. You don't want a direct confrontation with the tyrant when they're in a position of power. No, you know what you want to do, right? You want to go your own way. That's what you have to do. You must go your own way. Now, for a person who's been raised in the system, for a younger person, for a woman, for a man who is very dependent and interconnected to the system, that's very hard, isn't it? I mean, it's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but, it's like, what's he going to do? Quit his job and not pay his mortgage and not take care of his kids? And no, he can't do that. Not pay his taxes. No, he'll go to jail. That's not an option. So now what's going to happen to him? He's going to go along, right? And he's going to justify it in his mind. He's going to say, well, I have to do this. And I agree. I mean, I'm not judging him. But what's going to happen now is that it's going to break him down as an individual. He's going to start living this lie. He will be living the lie. And, it's one thing to say, okay, I've got to deal with this difficult situation with this difficult person in order to get paid, and then I'm done with it. It's another thing to compromise your fundamental values. So what you're going to have to do, as I said, is recognize the tyranny, recognize your tendencies to go along with it. And then you're going to have to go your own way from it. But you can't necessarily do it defiantly and openly. You know what I mean? Okay, you're going MGTOW. You're not going to deal with women. You're not going to chase after women, all right? You're not going to pine away for them. You're not going to get your self-worth and value from their validation. Fair enough. Good move. I completely agree. I completely approve. I'm sure that many honest women do as well. Many women respect the idea of MGTOW. They recognize it. So great. There you are. What are you going to do? Are you going to start telling other people about MGTOW, what they should do? I don't think that would be a good idea at that point, right? I think that would be like openly defying a tyrant. And I think that that would get you in a lot of trouble. So the smart thing to do is to covertly and inside of yourself to go your own way and to start building your way out of your connectedness and your reliance on these tyrants. And understand that we could even abstract it another level, all right? It's a tyranny of lies is what it is. Because man is the ultimate truth teller. He has to confront reality. This is the birth of science. This is the birth of mathematics. This is the mind of man, the truth teller, interacting with reality. This is the fire that burns away all the unnecessary lies, reality. But it's not so for the woman. It's not so for the tyrant. It's not so for the children. And it's not all evil. We need these systems in place, don't we, to take care of people. But now this system, it becomes a tyrant. It says you have to go against reality. You have to go against the truth to get along with this system. You have to say things like, oh, we can't offend Betty Sue's feelings here at work. But Betty Sue hasn't made a sale in over 6 months, right? And Betty Sue is the manager, so none of the people in her team can make a sale. The whole country is destroyed under a certain type of leader, okay? And if you don't go along with them, if you don't agree with them, you get put in jail, right? It's illegal, right, to post things on Facebook in Germany that they don't approve of, right? So not only are they insane, not only are they punishing people for telling the truth, but now they have to spend all their time making sure that you don't say anything bad against, the things that they care about, their lies, their house of cards. A tyranny of lies, tyranny of a victim class against the very thing that a man needs in order to deal effectively with reality and not be destroyed in this world. Now do you see the tyrant and why you have to say no to the tyrant? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to go along, right? So the truth is not something you can force upon other people. It's not something that, people are ready for. The tyranny of the truth. But it is the way of the man, isn't it? So here's the thing. I'll wrap this up. If you give in too much and you forget that you're just going along with these tyrants, it'll destroy your efficacy in dealing with reality, because you'll always be willing to compromise the truth. So in other words, if you say, oh, I'm going to measure this board out to be 6 feet long, and then somebody comes up to you and says, if you don't measure it out to be 5 feet long, I'll start to cry. You'll be like, well, I suppose I can make 5 feet work. And you can't. Right? And it's going to be this compromise that just cracks all the way through your life and all the way through your personality. So you're going to have to find some things that you care about that you can be true to them, okay? Even if you lose your monetization, even if you lose all kinds of stuff, right? You have to be true to something. So pick something that you believe, okay? Preferably something that a lot of other people don't believe, you know what I mean? And hold true to it. You don't have to convince other people of it. Just hold true to it, even in the face of other people saying, you've got to go along with me. It's like a kid crying for an ice cream. It's tyranny, right? Don't let women rule you. Have your life in enough order. Be strong enough. Be truthful enough with yourself and with reality that you are in a position of strength. And that if you don't have to deal with somebody, you don't have to deal with somebody. Otherwise, you will be compromised by tyrants of all types, from all angles, and you yourself will hide the truth that you went along, and there'll be a crack in your personality. So that's why it's important to say no. Now, I know you can't just defy the whole world, so what I'm suggesting you do is that you find a few things that you believe in, and you build them up, you make them strong, and you stay true to them, and you let that rebuild your character and rebuild your appreciation for the truth. And I'm not talking to you individually, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that this is a tendency that people have, right? And I think that it will be helpful. And it's something that I'm working through right now. Okay, I think I've gotten my point across. I think I've made myself clear, right? Okay, don't be a tyrant to yourself. Recognize that other people are trying to manipulate you and control you. And even if you can't openly defy them, find some things to be true to and grow from that. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.